Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 7th, 2023 meeting of the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee. We've performed in attendance and we will get started. So our first item of business for the evening is meeting minutes. I don't know if we have any draft ones for tonight to review.
Hello again.
We got kicked off the internet.
I've never been kicked off my own meeting.
It was a little shocking.
Oh, good evening, Jack.
Good evening. Sorry to be late. My computer was downloading Zoom again.
Oh, no worries. So we had no staff updates.
I was going to,
Oh,
sorry.
just
So I did a update to the select board, what is today? Wednesday, so Monday night. So just a reminder that the next open space public workshop is happening, invited them to come,
Oh,
the
perfect.
public to come. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
excellent.
Someone said there was another public one between the first one we had, we all participated in, and,
Oh, no,
that
was the one.
oh, okay.
So May 16th, and then the next one will be June 21st.
perfect. Any public input? Dawn, did you have any inputs?
Sure, I'm interested in seeing what's happening. I'm not able to make the public forums. Last one I was doing a migration study, in the Isles and Shoals off of Portsmouth is the next one coming up. I'm also gonna be offshore doing something. I would like to, review and enter stuff. And certainly after the last selectmen's meeting about the agenda item about the possibility of selling off the Gog Hill Orchard. I certainly hope you would be addressing that and the importance of not fragmenting it and not selling the town asset to someone else. I know town council made a recommendation of selling it to a farmer, which, with various restrictions in place, but I think that's a bad choice because you lose control. Anyway, that's sort of my initial take. And I guess also the other thing I keep on re-emphasizing is that Littleton is the sixth fastest growing community municipality in Massachusetts. It has only half the protected land on average for a municipality compared to all other municipalities, around 14–15%, and the state average is around 28–30%. So I hope that would also get into the final report, and that's from Mass Audubon study collecting the state data through their study called Losing Ground, which is online. I know sometimes there's the selectmen who want to have verification that that was true. And it is true as state's own data. Anyway, that's my quick input.
Perfect.
And I will still use those numbers, but I do think they're out of date.
It may be slightly off, but we certainly have less protected land than
Yeah.
all the adjoining communities, yeah. So, yeah, this is an effort to do better.
Absolutely.
All right, perfect. Our next item on the agenda is updates from Dodson and Blinker. Jack and Peter, did you have any updates that you'd like to share with us other than what's listed on the agenda that we'll be going over?
I don't think anything aside from what's on the agenda. Alicia and I talked about an item that wasn't on the agenda today about potentially just touching on synthetic turf legislation, which we might get to it towards the end of the meeting, if that sounds good.
Certainly.
And then Alicia and I also talked briefly about the website and where updates for the OSRP can go on the website. And I don't think that's something we should spend much time on tonight, but I think Alicia was working on that. So I don't know if you wanted to mention anything about that, Alicia. But I had asked about, it was hard to find, just doing a search on the town website, it was hard to find the most current information about the plan, and which was on the Parks and Recreation page, but wasn't on the OSRP committee page. So I had asked her about that. Those are the
So
only two things.
Go ahead, sorry. I was just gonna say that I reached out to IT. I didn't actually have access to the committee page. So they did grant me access to the committee page. So I tried to get as much information up there as possible. The only thing I don't really like about it is they all came up in tabs. So it's like, you come to the page, which shows all of you as committee members, but then you would have to look on the left-hand side, click on a tab to get additional information, which I don't know if people are gonna, do that. But I guess if they got that far, they probably would.
You can edit the main screen, the main page.
Yeah,
That's what,
yeah. I'll keep playing with it, see if I can change it and update it, but
well, that's going to get changed anyway.
it's true. I know,
What,
yeah.
yeah, what's the timeline on that?
June.
Yeah.
I know it's June, so
No, it floated in this,
July
Yeah.
now? Okay,
Okay.
soon.
I haven't done anything.
One day it's gonna be totally different.
All right, so our next item on the agenda is planning board and status of the public input survey that we've been working on.
Yeah,
Jack,
so So the survey's ready to go, and it's in SurveyMonkey right now and basically ready to be released. We thought it might be worth going through the survey together tonight to get your final approval before launching it. And so the survey is projected to take about 12 minutes. So I think that would take about 15 minutes to go through if we're not stopping too much. And if that feels like a good use of time to you all, I think there's overlap between what's in the survey and what we want to be talking about for the visioning workshop that's coming up. So the reviewing those items in the survey is not, I don't think that would be a bad use of time.
Certainly. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah, it does. My take on it would be, if you want to do anything, we want to shorten it to less than 10 minutes to do the survey. People, I think, lose their patience, anything more than 2 minutes. So there might be some things in there that are redundant or not as important that we can filter out. I think it's better to get more inputs, maybe at a higher level than a few people with an extra grind, go in and go through the whole thing and we take that as a town's wishes.
That's a good
We want to get more people.
You could have a free form part in the bottom where people could add on to it. That wouldn't slow anyone down. You have additional comments, for example.
Sure.
And that accomplishes your purposes, but also allows people to add more information if they think they really want to. Yeah.
So why don't we look at the survey and appreciate that input about keeping it concise to encourage more people to complete it. If there's questions as we go through. If you, I think it might be best to just go all the way through it without stopping. And then if there are questions that we think might be better off to leave off the survey or to shorten somehow, then we can go through any of those and any other feedback. But just for the sake of time, I think I might go through the entire survey first, and then we'll take any comments after that. Does that seem good?
Sounds great.
Great. I'm going to share my screen then.
So make sure you can do that. We'll go back. I'll make you a co-host. Okay, did that help?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Alicia. All right, can everyone see this now?
Yep.
Okay, so here's the introductory page. I know it's monotonous. I'm gonna read through it though. Just I think that might be the best way, just to make sure we cover everything. So, what do you love about Littleton? What recreation opportunities would you like to have? Your input will help guide decisions for Littleton's open space and recreation plan. Please complete by July 21st, 2023. Press done on the very last page to submit your survey, and thank you. And I would like to ask when we're done about the completion date. I think we've set it back from the original date we talked about because we're launching it later. So that's something I'd like to address. Okay, survey questions. Which best describes you? I live in Littleton. I work in Littleton. I live and work in Littleton. I visit Littleton to see friends or family. I have another connection to Littleton. Please specify. Select one of those, the best choice. 2, which recreational activities do you or your family enjoy? Wish list means activities you do not have an opportunity to do in Littleton but would like to. Child means select if you are a caregiver of a child under 18 who enjoys this activity. And NA, you do not do this activity. Select all that apply. So if I enjoy outdoor sports in Littleton and I have a child who does that as well, then I would select both of those. But if I don't, if none of these apply, I would select NA. Or if I play hockey in another town, or I guess indoor sports, I play hockey in another town, I would select in another town. And maybe wish list if I would like more opportunities for that in Littleton. Originally, this list was comprehensive, included every activity that we could think of. And that made it more bulky and time consuming. So I ended up consolidating these into these categories: outdoor sports, indoor sports, fitness activities, outdoor water activities, child recreation activities, trail activities non-motorized, trail activities motorized, road activities, adventure activities, which means rock climbing, camping, orienteering, hunting, shooting, or archery. And I see a spelling error there, so I'll fix that. Nature observation, birding, or outdoor education, gardening at a community garden, leisure social activities, which includes picnics, meetups, art, etc.
Okay.
And then a space for other. Number 3, which of the following conservation areas, recreation facilities, and water bodies have you ever visited? And so this lists a comprehensive list of all of the conservation areas, parks, and parks and recreation and water bodies that we, I think, looked at together. And then it asks for each to select one option within the last year, more than a year ago, or never, or I don't know. So this is a long one. There's a lot of places, but hopefully it won't take too long to read through. Number 4, and each of these have an optional comment box in case people want to add something to capture those as they go along. 4, do any of the following reasons prevent you from visiting the conservation areas or recreation facilities in question 4? That should say question 3, so I'll make that change as well. I don't know what is available or where to find them. I don't have a good map and/or I am concerned about getting lost. I'm concerned about safety and/or ticks. I don't have time or interest. The community programs I want are not available. Operating hours are not convenient. Area's facilities do not feel friendly or culturally relevant to me. Area's facilities are not accessible for people with mobility needs or disabilities. Area's facilities are not dog friendly. Lack of restrooms. Area facilities are too crowded. Area's facilities are unappealing or not well maintained. Area's facilities don't have sufficient parking. Area's facilities aren't convenient for me to get to without a car, i.e. by foot, bike, or public transportation, or none of the above. Number 5, do you agree or disagree with these statements about open space and recreation in Littleton? Select the best option. So there's a choice for agree, disagree, or no opinion, I don't know. Littleton has enough fields and recreation facilities for team sports, swimming, fitness classes, child play, and other active recreation. Littleton has enough places to go for walking, hiking, mountain biking, picnicking, birding, and other passive recreation. Wildlife habitat in Littleton is well protected and managed. Water bodies and groundwater, drinking water supply are well protected and managed. Farmland is sufficient to supply my needs for locally grown food. Open space is sufficient to ensure the rural character of the town. Open space is sufficient to ensure the town's climate resilience and stormwater management. Historic and cultural resources are well protected and managed. Recreational programs meet the town's needs. Park trails and recreation facilities are safe and well maintained. Parks, trails, and recreation facilities provide sufficient parking and access to vehicles, pedestrians, and bicyclists. Water bodies that allow public voting have adequate access.
Jack, what was the subject matter of number 5? Or whatever that was?
This was to state if you
Just general
agree,
statement.
agree or disagree with any of those statements. Yeah. Do you agree, number 6, do you agree or disagree with these statements about ADA accessibility for open space and recreation in Littleton in compliance with the American with Disabilities Act? Select the best option. Again, agree, disagree, no opinion, or I don't know. Littleton has an adequate number and distribution of parks, trails, and recreation facilities that have accessibility features for use by people with disabilities. Accessibility features are well designed and functional, including wheelchair accessible parking, pathways, ramps, entryways, restrooms, signage, and equipment. Littleton provides adequate recreational programming and services for people with disabilities. Number 7, do you feel you have access to a park, conservation area, or trail within a 10-minute walk from where you live? Select the best choice. Yes, no, I'm not sure. Number 8, for residents, please identify the street you live on or write in the street name if unlisted. Begin typing your street name in the drop-down menu and select your street listed alphabetically. So if I lived on King Street, I start typing in King Street and it pops up, and then I'd select that. There were a few, you could only put in 200 entries, and there were like 260 streets. So I did not put in streets that had fewer than 4 addresses listed on them to keep it under 200. Number 9, which 3 of the following open space goals and values are most important to you? Choose top 3 listed alphabetically. So this asks for only your top 3. So if agricultural health and local food was my top choice, I would select that. And I can only select 1 choice per row, but then I can't select top choice for any of these other values. So if community vitality was another thing I thought was a top choice, I might change it, and it changes it. And I can only select my top choice, my second choice, and my third choice. So there'll be a lot of blanks on here. So the values listed, the goals and values listed are agricultural health and local food, beauty and character of the landscape, climate resilience, community vitality, connectivity and mobility across transportation modes, peacefulness, quiet, and dark skies, drinking water quality, ecological health and biodiversity, economic prosperity for small businesses, i.e. attracting business, economic prosperity for property owners, i.e. improving property values, enjoyment and quality of life, equity and access to resources across abilities, ADA accessibility, equity and access to resources across race, class, and other social characteristics, environmental justice, historic and cultural connectedness, public health, senior care and enrichment, sustainability and reduced carbon emissions, youth development. Number 10, would you support dedicating more of the town's budget to achieving open space and recreation goals? Yes, no, I need more information.
Can you just bust that, so all I can say is yes?
I think that might skew the results a little bit, Amy.
Yes, of course.
Do you consider Littleton select the best option, a rural town, a bedroom community, a suburb of Boston, a town in transition between any of the above? What else would you like to tell us about open space and recreation in Littleton, which is optional, and the text box for any additional comments? Those are the 12 questions. All of those are required in order to submit the survey, except for number 12 and for the one asking to list the street name. Don't exit yet. Please press done on the very last page to submit your survey. Thank you. The next section is optional. All right, it's not letting me do that until I fill out all these. Let's see if I can. So the next page is demographic background information. Let me exit out of here so I don't have to go through and answer all those questions. Okay, the demographic and background questions are asked. The following questions are intended for a more targeted response to the survey. Thanks for your input. For residents, how long have you lived in Littleton? 0 to 3 years, 4 to 10 years, 10 to 20 years, over 20 years. What is your age? Under 18, 18 to 24, 25 to 39, 40 to 64, 65 or older. I prefer not to say. How do you describe your gender? Female, male, non-binary. I do not identify as female, male, or non-binary. I prefer not to say. How do you describe your race? American Indian or Alaskan Native, Asian or Asian American, Black or African American, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, white, 2 or more races. I prefer not to say, or other. Are you Hispanic? Oh, I'm sorry. Alicia, I think you mentioned, so I'm going to change this to Latino. Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish in origin? Yes, no, I don't know. I prefer not to say. What is your annual household income? Less than 30,000, 30 to 59,000, 60 to 99,000, 100 to 199,000, over 200,000. I don't know. I prefer not to say. For residents, do you rent or own your home? Rent, own, I prefer not to say. Thank you for taking the time to complete this survey. Remember to press done to submit your survey. Please check the following webpage for project updates and opportunities, which refers to the Parks and Recreation page.
Want to switch that, Jack?
To the one that you, which one?
Yeah, the one that I'm working on right now. I guess the question I have that I gotta find out from Nancy is when we do make this shift, does the web address change? I'll send her an email right now.
It shouldn't. Or that would be hell to pay if everybody's web address changed.
They just changed all of our accounts in Munis, so, and that's like the third time that's happened this year for us.
Still can't get them to talk to me about that, but.
I know, right? So I don't know.
And is the old plan up on the OSRP page?
I was just checking that out. I have it up on, so not everything's in there. So one of the things that Jack had asked me for that I've been looking like crazy for is the ADA access self-evaluation.
I couldn't
Which-
find that either.
It's not on there, but it's in here. So I can scan this and give this to you, Jack, but I don't know where the original is.
Okay,
You check with Maureen.
that sounds annoying to do. If you can't find it, I guess that would be great. If it's not too much. to do.
No, not at all. I just like, I'm concerned that the whole thing's like that up there. That's, yeah, what I'm worried about.
Here's the open space and recreation page.
Yep,
No, that's the,
that's the implementation,
right.
but that's the one that has the actual documents on it. So if you go all the way to the bottom, it'll say Open Space and Recreation Plan 2016. And that's the one that doesn't have some of the stuff in the printout that some of us have.
Right. So I guess the question is, do we want it there or do we want it in the
I can put it in both places. I
guess-
like,
the link? Where do we want the link to get?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so, I guess if my intent, so let me find out from Nancy if the website is actually going to change. If it is not, then we can have it go to the committee page, and then I will make sure that the documents are accessible there as well. So it's a one-stop shop.
That sounds great. So is this the page I should put on the
The one I
survey?
was working on today, yeah. Why do you think I've been trying to get headshots of you guys for like 30 years now? I do have your headshot.
You have mine too?
Then who am I missing?
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna take a picture of this.
All right. Well, thanks for your sitting through as I went through all of that. And I'd love to hear feedback now that we've gone through it all. And I don't know the best way to do that. I can't see all of you. So I guess if you just.
You will when we talk.
Yeah, Jack, I got a question and two comments. First question is there anything to prevent a person from taking it multiple times if they're trying to influence the survey? In other words,
I think you
buy
can
the
only,
land next to my house
let's see.
10 times.
It does record the IP address, and I think there is a setting that you can limit it. So the same IP address doesn't do it multiple times, but then that means that if you want more than one person from the same, like that gets problematic if people use the same computer, like at a library or in a household, multiple people doing it. So I think what we've done in the past is we haven't limited the number of times that one IP address can do the survey, and just trust that that people are not abusing that privilege, and that they have better things to do with their time. But if that's something, yeah, what do you think?
I was gonna say, I mean, it's a very long survey. If somebody's gonna put in all that time to fill this out repeatedly, I mean.
Well, you know, if there's some person or group who wants to have a particular thing happen, they could, it's just a risk.
True.
Well, it's a
Sorry.
It also might be complicated.
Yeah. It'll be obvious.
Well, if they're saying buy the property next to me,
Yeah,
if
well,
they're
or something like that.
saying, you know, one goal is more valuable than all the others, that's not gonna be so easy to parse, but.
Okay, well, maybe there's a way we can look at the information and maybe we jump out if the same answers come in.
Like the SATs, they all line up together.
Yeah.
Multiple lanes. The same spots over and over again.
You volunteered for that, right?
So,
Sure, sign me up. I love to go to CDs.
so two comments, and one comment is, I think we have to have a done button before the optional portion.
Yes.
Otherwise-
Get it done.
Yeah, because, and if that can't be done, I think we need to skip the demographic portion. Because it's optional, I don't know what we get out of it, because only people who want to put it down, so we can't really derive any information from that. Because we don't know about the other people that didn't do it.
I mean, given that it's a voluntary and self-selecting survey, I'm not sure that there's any less information by only getting the demographics on the people who answer. Because we're not in any sort of statistical basis to begin with.
Right, but why ask it unless you're gonna use it? That's my point. Yeah, that's information.
If we get, if we get answers from 90% of the people, then
I definitely think we need a button before though, just so people don't feel obligated. They're gonna think, oh my God, there's a second page to this.
We'll get it done by the day, change it to the,
Yeah,
That's, or they're gonna think that they're done after the first page, because they're just like on
Yep.
autopilot, like.
or can you just put those questions in the first page, mark them as optional and.
yeah, I
Yeah,
would.
make the page a little longer though.
Yeah, it makes the page longer, but you're still scrolling through everything anyway, so.
That way you don't have to worry about clicking next, it's
Right.
one less click.
But we already asked the people who are residents of Littleton, or what their relationship is to the town of Littleton. I don't know why we have to ask them all that additional information. I don't know what it does for us. What would we,
Yeah,
I always hesitate to ask for information that I don't really know what I'm gonna do with once I get it.
How does the street address potentially help us?
Well, that's to answer the question about, do you feel that something is within 10 minutes? So
Should we
am I
have
right on that, Jack?
That's right. Yeah, that was to help with, that follows that question about the 10-minute. And that 10-minute question is a lot more valuable if we know approximately where people live.
With 10 minutes, a 10-minute walk or a 10-minute drive?
So it's in
town.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
But if
Yeah.
it's valuable
But you would be
information, it shouldn't be on
surprised.
it shouldn't be on the thing though, if it's considered to be valuable, then why are we putting it on the optional page?
It's not,
That's
it's
not
not.
on the option page.
Yeah.
It's on the regular
Oh,
page.
it is.
So on the demographic page is, you consider yourself a he, a she, or
Right.
whatever, and then questions about race and ethnicity and that sort of thing.
Right, and money and all that.
Yeah.
That's right, it wasn't the limit, the actual.
Right.
I think those, again, it depends, if you get a 10% response rate on those, then no, it's not valuable. If you get a 70% response rate, it tells you something.
Right.
And, if it comes up that, everybody who responds to this is women, then clearly our outreach is not working. And it only got to mom's page.
Or everybody that responds is 60 and older, then
Right,
same
same thing. I mean, it'll,
So I'm not gonna argue about it as long as we can put a done button before it.
that's a way to do it, yeah.
Sounds good.
I was just
Or
gonna,
optional or some way of just making sure we don't lose the whole survey. I think that's your point.
Right.
You don't want to lose the survey information.
Right, because there might
Yeah,
be
you can
people who
change it.
object to it, and you say it's optional, but you're making them go through it before they can hit done. So to really be optional, if we hit done here, if you don't want to answer the next page, something like that.
So,
the other.
Go ahead, Alicia.
The other area where this data might help us as well is that we're also tandemly doing the statistically valid recreation needs survey. And so one of the things that we were concerned about was, will the results from this survey contradict with that one? And that one is statistically valid. So that's going to be based off of the demographics in town. So that way, if you do have the data, and let's say I use the example at the select board meeting, you only got responses from people that lived on one street. Well, it's great. You know what the people in that one street want, but you don't know what the 10,000 people in Littleton want. So, and it would just make it easier to explain the differences between the two surveys without making them invalid.
Do we know what the percentage minimum is to make this a valid survey?
This is not a statistically valid, right, Jack? This is not.
Correct, right. Yeah, we're not even trying to be, it's to try to be statistically valid would be we'd have to target the who has access to the survey, which would be a lot more work.
Yeah, people that respond to this, is it?
It's what those
I know.
people have said. Oh, I see what you're saying.
See, when we did the economic development, thing, we did a survey monkey as well,
Mhm.
and we wanted to hit a certain minimum percentage. Otherwise,
So I think the percentage that we would need, if I remember this correctly, from talking to the other company that were doing the statistically valid, it would have to be between 300 and 500 to be able to accurately represent the demographics of the town.
But in terms of, do we, like, at what point, like, I mean, going back to the 2016 one,
Mm,
if we did a survey, how many responses do we get? Is
mm.
is there a comfort level? If we get 100,
Right, how many do we want to shoot for?
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
Right, what are we hoping for and?
Well, I assume we're hoping for as many as we can get. I mean, is it gonna,
10,000, let's go, kids.
Yeah.
is it gonna make a difference how we distribute this and let people know about it? If we
It-
want
it
100
makes it-
versus if we want 1,000?
it makes a difference how long you keep it open.
Yeah,
That's the problem. You have 50 people on July 21st, big problem.
Yeah.
Right, or yeah, what's the level at which we're not comfortable with it?
but you're not necessarily gonna get anybody else in the middle of summer to answer.
That's the other problem. Exactly. Yeah, it's a tough time of
Yeah,
year.
before school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we wanted to be live a little bit, like a couple. like,
What we should have done is
but
we should have tied this to getting a transfer station sticker.
we
You
just-
should have had the laptop right there, okay? You buy your sticker, boom, you gotta take the survey first.
I like that.
You're not getting your dog license, you're not. getting-
Exactly. You gotta take that.
Nobody comes in for a dog license.
Right.
Me a half hour to get that transfer sticker, that transfer station sticker. So
End of the month, right?
What's that?
End of June or end of?
And it's,
It
you know,
was last, or 2 years ago. I think
Yeah.
Wi-Fi was super slow.
oh, yeah.
No,
Oh, yeah.
it's take a laptop.
Process
download
the-
it.
Hey, Ivan, can I put something on the light and water bills
Yeah, absolutely.
that has a like QR code?
Yeah, you can, yeah,
Is it gonna
but
go
you,
up time?
but you gotta hurry up
Why?
because bills are gonna be.
I can make a QR code tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah, what do you link it to?
I can create a QR code on Survey Monkey.
Well, but you're gonna print them and then they mail and
Yeah.
when do they arrive?
exactly.
That's-
That's,
well, when does the next one arrive?
that's right. You have to be so many weeks out in advance
Right.
with this information to the printer.
Who I talked to?
Yeah,
And so just as a reference, the last OSRP got around 200 responses and the bike ped plan got about 700 responses. So
Yeah, that got a lot of response.
That's amazing.
Now everyone's burned out, so.
I guess. Well, I asked, is it Mara,
Yeah,
if she could send their list of contacts, but she hasn't done that yet.
of where they posted.
Well, because I think they like emailed a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, so I'll reach out to her.
At the broadcast.
Yeah.
or something, so it's all the emails, not
Well-
just Park and Rec people emails.
No, I know, it did. I had it everywhere, dude.
Oh, okay.
Serious.
No, I mean, when we do it this time.
I will do that and more. Whatever that means, I don't know. I'll put on a sandwich board, walk up and down.
Yeah, pop up the library, people filling in.
Well,
In the highway, with the highway sign.
yeah, yeah.
well,
We can do
we have the sign, out there, at the end of Russell Street.
the electric one.
Yeah,
Very message, yeah.
yeah, yeah, I'm gonna put that on
The trust
We have
just had
limited
the
words.
newsletter, Right?
Yeah.
It's nothing good coming out on.
there. Yeah, you got it, cause it
I
has
don't
to
know.
go twice.
Other than,
You have to-
put the links on.
Wow.
We can put the links on the
It's not
side.
too long, it's 2 screens.
I'm not sure how much
Yeah.
traffic goes through, but yeah, absolutely.
I'm just trying to think of other.
Yeah, the Little Trails Facebook, definitely, all the various Facebook.
So I'll like go crazy with social media.
Social media.
It's fine, but,
Yeah. But that, again, that's
Outside.
demographic.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Outside
outside of.
Yeah. That was council on aging.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, for
Yeah.
sure. We can also have computers set up at Third Thursday or any of the special events too, to have people do them.
Yeah.
And
Jack,
also
could
just,
we do it by paper or no?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think when
No, the reason I'm asking is at special events, because
Yeah.
people can take one, fill it out, and then drop it off.
Absolutely, yeah, papery ones are always good.
But I don't know if that's gonna be a pain in the ass, oh, can I say that? Pain for you guys to, tabulate all of that, yeah, compile.
would anyone on town staff be able to do data entry from that?
Oh, yeah, we got tons of town staff to do that.
Yeah.
Lining up for some of these days.
So you're working?
Let me, well,
Yeah, I'll do it. I don't think we're gonna get many. I'm gambling we'll get many, but it won't take long to do it.
Jerry.
Go ahead.
it's been recorded.
Okay.
Jerry, you're gonna tabulate
If
them.
we get people's inputs, we should take that very seriously and make sure they get in, so.
I'll sit down with you and we can just read it off.
And go.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll get it done.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I'm telling you, the transfer station, you go with the clipboard and you just interview people.
I mean, we can. I'm okay with
You have
that.
a couple minutes, boom, 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 fill it out.
Yeah.
If it was shorter, I could see that.
Yeah.
Well,
This
you
is
can
kind
tell
of
up front, you know, that it's.
It'll take 12 minutes.
I don't think it's gonna take 12.
Yeah, it's not gonna.
Oh, yeah.
The people that love it, they love, when I was getting signatures, oh my God, people would call me, that's this and that and that.
People love to talk to
They
you.
love, no, they just love.
You.
Okay.
Yes.
I've been volunteering to be at the transfer station and take people's inputs,
I will do it.
because they love to talk to them.
I mean, yeah.
Recorded.
I will do it. Absolutely.
I would stop the laptop or whatever you want.
No, Jerry wants the paper. I want to change.
Just have
Stacks of paper.
I'll enter them with you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Yeah, when you see 40 responses from one IP address, that was why.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Um,
All right,
yeah, thank you for, that'd be great. I think it'd be great to have paper and I love these ideas. And, just to go back to the done button question, there was a suggestion to put all of the optional demographic questions on the same page as every other question and just make sure they're clearly marked as optional, which would allow people to quickly skip over them and do done at the very end instead of on two different pages. How do people feel about that option?
I don't like it.
is it a one page? Is it like, are you going next from question? I'm just thinking about the mechanics of SurveyMonkey.
They'll become.
Is the
It's-
user gonna see one question at a time or they see the whole thing?
I think they'll see what we saw, so it'll be,
Same way.
It's like
So it's a
a,
scroll.
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a introductory page. And then it's all one page. And then there's a second page with the third page with the demographic information. And I guess the proposal that someone said, and I'm putting out there is to put the demographic background information on the same page. So it's all on one page. And put done at the very bottom of that page.
That wouldn't be my preference. My preference would be put done right after all the data that we need to gather.
Can we make it do done after the first page and then have like a pop-up that says we have
Well,
one
that's
more?
Can you?
Yeah, we have one more quick thing we'd like to get your opinion on or something like that.
Or
you're automatically guaranteed to get no on that one.
well, or you submit these answers and then the next page comes up and you have another set of questions.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Doesn't have to-
where we capture
don't put
the
it
main
done, just
data,
be to submit,
and then they can
submit
still
the
do
data.
that if they want.
I don't think that's an option. I think I
Okay.
think you can only do done once, I'm pretty sure. So, the reason why I think that might be a good compromise is that it would eliminate the extra click, which it seemed like that was the main thing about not having a second page. And then, but it also, I think there's a lot of
Okay, but then after we do, well, before demographics, you can say, you can skip the demographic section and go to done at the bottom of it, right? If you put it all on one page.
Yeah,
I think-
Are we all frozen or is
Yeah, I
it
think
just
Jack's
Jack?
totally frozen.
I don't know, it looks a little hard, but my suggestion.
are you back, Jack? Jack, you froze for a bit.
Oh. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Uh-oh, internet connection is unstable.
Uh-oh.
Like the rest of us.
Turn your video off, just do sound.
Will that really help?
Um,
Oh,
Helps a little bit.
Yeah, that'll help.
What did I miss? You're
You're good. So we're talking about, just putting in a note after whatever is question 12, saying the remaining questions are optional if you want to proceed to the bottom and submit.
Yeah, you can just skip to the bottom and hit done.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's a good, I like that solution. So we'll put it all on one page and we'll put a note after the required questions and make sure everyone knows the other ones are optional.
Yeah.
Questions 1 through 12, were they all required or?
There's 2 optional. There's the very last one, which is just an open response in case people have anything else to tell us. And then there's the listing the road you live on. And then everything else is required, so you can't submit it unless you complete the other questions. And I think that's useful because sometimes people think they pressed, they might have thought they did it and somehow they didn't. It's useful to make sure that they do complete the whole question. What else? Is there anything else you would change?
There was one thing I did see on there. You have our logo on the top and it should probably just be the town's logo, not Littleton Parks and Rec. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it should just be the town.
So I can get you the town logo. I'll send that to you tomorrow, or logo, listen to me, seal. I guess it's a logo. To make sure you can switch that out.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I think I have a copy, but if you want to share it,
Okay.
that's great.
The first response in question 5. I realize this thing is already long, but that seems like it covers an awful lot of ground.
Yeah, it does.
And I don't know if that's, yeah.
You're talking about fields and recreation facilities.
Yeah.
You want to separate those into fields and then into other recreation facilities?
I mean, I think we certainly want to separate it somehow. I'm not sure how far down we want to go. I mean, because
So I thought about that too, but if we're gonna do the statistically valid survey, we can get more in-depth detail in that one, and this is okay to kind of get a generic.
And what's your timing on that now?
This is the first month that we're gonna be doing planning with them. So the goal would be 7, hopefully in mid-July, we'll get it out. So it'll be.
Okay, so the
July,
results
yes.
will be able to be folded into the.
Yeah, so we'll end up using that probably just as an appendice that's gonna go into the back of this rather than it being like, the survey, but.
So we can use the data.
Yeah, because ultimately, I want to be able to use that for like the recreational goals, so we have a good idea of what those need to be.
Okay, so we'll leave this number 5 as is.
yeah, that's fine for the surveys.
I can try, they usually they're on the bottom. You do,
Oh, yeah, that's what-
you are one of only,
No, it's Lincoln like do it, because because at the very bottom is where they put all the dates.
interesting,
At the bottom of the calendar, they have the calendar.
okay.
So, it's the emails from the temple and all
All right, did we have any other comments for the survey? Do you think it's good to go?
Should we test it out?
that. Yeah. Eat whoever.
Yes.
See the eyeballs, look at the eyeballs.
Yeah, I guess the only other question was on the first one that sort of lists all, or the 2 that list all of the facilities or sites, and then the list of hindrances, is there going to be a way to tie those together or? I mean, I'm trying to figure out if
Yeah, I think I know, so you're saying like, to see if one of these particular Hartwell Family Memorial Preserve has an issue that's specific.
like, right, and yeah, I don't know which way to tell, like if somebody's worried about safety and ticks and for all the people that are worried about safety and ticks never visit Hartwell. I don't know, like I'm trying to figure out if this tells us
Right,
anything or if
right.
we're just gathering kind of very general.
Hartwell has all the ticks, but.
Right.
Oh, no.
I think,
Against
Get like full of ticks.
I think there, we can't, yeah, I
It's
think
all the Waterbury in
I
there.
think we're limited to be able to do that.
And these are pretty general.
Yeah.
It's not saying there's a muddy area I can't walk across, which would be specific to an area.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just,
But they can also put those in the optional, I mean.
Right.
Again. I think the people that have specific concerns will take the time to put in those.
Put in a
things,
comment, yeah.
I
Fair
think
enough.
that's, ones who have the complaints will put in the free text.
So the other piece of that is if people actually have complaints, then shouldn't they be sending those into something like this eClick fix, which is like the log of stuff that needs to get,
Conservation stuff.
do they use
I
it?
just mean in general, if people have something.
Okay,
That's a lot.
Know about it.
this is a conversation for another time. Moving on.
I don't think they've ever, it would be, I think I've seen maybe some hazard trees
Yeah.
listed in there on open space, but not much, but if there's, dog conflicts or
Oh, right.
muddy areas
That's
or
right.
stuff like that, either I'll hear about it or LCT will hear about it. It wouldn't go to.
Okay.
In there anyway.
Being that we've dwelled on question 4, I don't think you need none of the above because they just wouldn't check anything if it was none of the above, right?
And they have to answer
You
something.
have to have an
There's a-
answer.
Is this one of the ones that have to answer something?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Nice try. Trying to fit it out one statement at a time.
I think originally there was a question, area facilities have too many dogs, and I cut that out just to try to keep it, streamlined as much as possible. Is that important to include as a counter to not dog friendly? I know
No.
dogs is a contentious issue in town.
That's too general, because one person, one dog is too many, and another 10 is too many, that's,
Right.
yeah.
But I know there are people who won't go to certain places because the dogs are off leash.
That's fine,
Right.
No, they shouldn't be.
that's fine.
So that's,
It's a bylaw.
that's a complaint, or that's the reason they don't go someplace.
Right.
So that'll get captured in our safety.
Sorry,
Right,
but
that goes under,
and track,
At heel? At
and
heel?
track.
Yeah, but they were at heel,
Yeah.
and they're fine.
Yeah,
Face when you said that.
it's allowed.
They're trainable.
What can you do?
Oh my goodness. Okay, moving on.
Well, speak now. I guess I hear Amy making a point. I don't know if that means.
I think we're fine if, as you said, if someone has an issue about it, it will rise to. either
Or they'll
comment
put
or
in the
safety.
optional comment. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, well, if you have the bottom.
Yeah.
There you go.
I got a letter today. That was nice. Yeah. Yeah. No.
So I also heard a question if you want to go through this, to share a link to go through it before we launch it. Is that something the committee would like to do? And then how do we know when we're ready to launch?
What we could do is perhaps share the link, and then if anybody has any issues, maybe Alicia could field committee emails, perhaps. We don't violate the open meeting law.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing, then we can just launch it. and-
Yeah.
Put
Because
it by
I would like,
Monday or something.
Yeah,
I
So I was gonna-
hours or something.
yeah, I think it should be a short period of time because I definitely want to be able to get it out there as soon as possible.
Can I just
I
put it on a piece of paper?
also want to make sure that we have it available for our third Thursday event, which will be on the 15th.
Yeah,
I think we'll get a
Yes.
fair amount of traffic there, so.
I have paper copies.
Yep, and so, so let's do that. If we can get a link, we'll send it out to everybody. If I get feedback, I'll let you know, and then the goal will be to make it live on Friday.
All right, I'll share a link with you again, Alicia, right after the meeting.
Okay.
I can try to email it directly to the committee if that's easier.
Yeah, if you want to, that's okay, yeah.
Okay.
All right, excellent. So do we want to pick out the target date to end the survey? Did we want to bump it out another?
I'm sorry, Brian.
Oh,
Started.
yeah, so we're originally gonna have the survey end on like July 21st, something like that. Maybe we can bump it out into maybe mid-August now, just because we're a few weeks.
Yeah, actually, we were originally going to end it the end of this month to get, and I think that would have been 6 weeks. So we can definitely bump it out again. Do you feel like, how many weeks do
It'd
we
be
want?
valuable to cover 2 third Thursdays. Because I think that's where we're gonna get a lot of input from. So I don't know if the current range of dates would cover 2 third Thursdays or only one.
Actually, yeah, we start it next week. That Thursday is a third Thursday. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks from there is the second third Thursday, which is the 20th of July. So maybe if we throw in an extra week and have it be like July 28th or something.
Great.
Or
Perfect.
30th, because you're not gonna look at it over the weekend anyway.
You
Okay.
don't know me very well, do you?
Not you, you're not compiling the dates.
Oh, that's true. Yes, that is true. Okay. Yeah. All right. 30th.
Perfect.
Sunday, July 30th.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Sounds like we've got everything together. We can get this thing live and ready to go. All right, so if we move on then to our next topic for tonight, just a brief report on the first public hearing that was held on, not public hearing, workshop meeting that was held on May 16th. Just a recap of what we observed and how we think maybe could have been done a little differently perhaps, or if people were fine with it. All comments.
Yeah, I have some findings from that to share, which I can do first, or if there's comments first, we can do
Yeah,
comments
why
first.
don't we do the findings first, and then maybe the committee members can jump in with what they observed and any additional comments after that.
Sounds great. All right, so we if for those of you who didn't see that we presented some existing conditions based on my conversations with Alicia and Amy, all of the work that's been done since 2016. Didn't present all of the work that's been done, but presented some major themes like some of the conserved land, some of the maintenance that's been going on, some community engagement activities, and those are in the slides that are part of the presentation. For tonight, I just wanted to go over the input we got from participants. They all went onto Google Earth to, and Peter and I facilitated dropping pins on places that they mentioned as either having recreational value, being a place with resources to protect, or a place that may need some maintenance or accessibility improvements. So here's the overall map that shows the yellow boundary is Littleton. It's a little hard to see, but make it bigger. And these are all the comments that came up from that. When we look at them a little more closely, these were the places that people called out as enjoying, and most of them have both recreation and resource protection value. Most of them are protected. There were a few farms that aren't protected but are limited protection under Chapter 61. I think all the farms that were called out were enrolled in Chapter 61, looking at the parcel data. There are a couple of parks or school fields that have limited protection status, which means that they're town owned, but they don't have a conservation restriction on them. So those, and they are the schools, for example, are unlikely to have a conservation restriction on them, but they are also unlikely to change land use. So most places that people evaluate are already protected. Here's the second part of the list. There was Spring Brook. Someone called that out as a place where people go snowmobiling, and that is not a protected area. I think that might be the only one here.
Amy's face.
Well, hey, I'm drawing a blank. Where's Springbrook?
Springbrook
Right next to
is,
Springdale.
that's the Matheson's property.
Oh, okay. All right.
People shouldn't be out there snowmobiling on the property. That's terrible.
Well, maybe it's,
Oh,
Not Ranch Peak.
These were areas that people called out for needing some maintenance or accessibility or other interventions. There's some interest in the quarry and doing something with that, maybe as a site for either recreation facilities or to allow trees to grow back. Actually, I don't know, Peter, that was your group, and I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
Actually, that was my comment too. Peter may not remember, but it was just to have a plan so that when the quarry goes away, that the town has a way to mitigate the damage, so it doesn't look like Quincy, but it's tall cliffs. In other words, if it keeps going out further and further to the boundaries, then you can't slope it, so you don't have cliffs anymore. So we have to take that into account.
They still have like a long time to use it though. Yeah.
it's a fill with water.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe that might be something we talk about more later. There's concern about the tennis courts, where they would be replaced, if not at Indian Hill. There was called out an area that was near the town forest. It says active development projects with potential for expanding open space. So that might be an area we look at more closely. Build wider trails and regularly mow to reduce tick exposure in Prouty Woods. Cooper Farm is
That one actually, another one of my comments, and the comment was that Prouty Woods has those, not that it needs it. It has wider trails, and that's why I think it's regularly used.
Oh, okay,
But that's it.
got it. All right,
Whereas
thanks.
like the town forest has very narrow trails, and you're bushwhacking some of the time, and you tend to get more ticks that way.
Got it. So Prouty Woods is an example of
Yes,
for other places. Okay.
or wide trails, they used to be road.
So Cooper Farm came up as a place that needs to figure out what to do with that area.
What are the initials in the right-hand column? Just I can't.
So N is, no protection status, L is limited, and P is protected in perpetuity. Improved parking at Fay Park and access, improve access to Fort Pond. And I think that was looking at through the Newtown Conservation Area, Newtown Hill Conservation Area.
Yeah, maybe
Specifically boat access.
Tilple ponds, yeah.
Yes, boat
No,
access.
that doesn't. Newtown Hill doesn't touch Fort Pond.
No,
Oh.
not their Newtown Hill.
Okay, let me clarify that.
I think you should clarify that as boat access.
It's just improving boat access in general.
Here's where the pin was dropped.
That's the swamp you're supposed to paddle through to get to the pond.
There is no boat access.
So where should this pin be?
There's.
Or in the middle of the pond. There is no public access to Fort Pond.
Right. I think the idea was that you can bushwhack from Newtown Road. sort of.
It's across wetlands.
Yeah, that's the town property, that's.
Yeah,
the
but-
Hey, you wouldn't
town
want
access.
to keep going through the wetlands.
Someone's, have you done that?
You can't park.
In high water, you can do it,
Bibs.
Really?
but I'm not saying you should, I'm just saying. That's what we're supposed to do, that's the
Right, yeah.
legal public access is through there, and it's. We need to improve it, or get another one.
Is it considered one of the great ponds?
It's a great pond,
It
so you have
is.
access to the pond, but not on the shore to the pond. You can come in by helicopter, and that's.
Oh, come on.
No, really.
That's
No,
a big
I don't think,
It's
if
a
you don't
great
have
pond.
access, you don't have to make access.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't have any access across the wetlands, I mean. In fact, the whole grant for the Brown land is to provide protection for that as well.
Well, I get calls every now and then from people saying, how do I get on Fort Ponce?
Yeah.
Can't.
Yeah, I mean, someone might want access to it, but
Oh,
they don't
clearly.
have it, you know.
There used to be a trail behind the storage, there's storage units that they have, a facility that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There's behind that parking lot, and there used to be a trail, I don't know. if it's still
I just
there.
walked down there the other
Up
day.
here.
yeah,
Talk about ticks,
that's where I launched my canoe, but
Yeah,
it's private property.
oh, it is.
Yeah, it's all private.
Yeah.
and it's very swampy, so again, high water only probably.
We
Nothing
probably aren't
wrong.
gonna solve this, we probably aren't
Yeah.
gonna solve
Yeah,
this
okay.
tonight.
I'll zip it up.
Yeah, I guess we should. keep
I
moving-
understand
keep
the
moving
question
on.
now.
Yeah, it is not appropriate to have access to that. That's the
But this,
question.
this is a good example of, both the public workshops and the survey are not really we're not asking people to vote on these ideas, but it's basically just collect all of the ideas. And then a little bit later on, we'll start to sift through them and see what really makes sense. So that's a good example of something that starts an interesting discussion.
One thing that's not listed there that's come up before, and it's worth considering, is the town does not do any snow plowing, I mean, the parking lots and any of the recreation and conservation land. Other towns, they do, and that's something that's needed. And the Conservation Trust tried to get volunteers to do it, they were willing to do it, but the town did not allow it. So yeah, that's a barrier to using the
Yeah.
lands when there's snow there, and it needs to be addressed.
So they do the recreational, like they do 300 King, they do Fay. They even do down at the beach as well, but.
They might take a
conservation areas.
swipe through some of the Concom
Yeah.
areas, but they don't, yeah.
Yeah,
But, you think of along Lake Park, I mean, people want to go cross-country skiing or whatever,
right.
and they have no place to park, or the car gets stuck in snow.
Yeah, limits.
And our volunteers willing to plow those lots if they're allowed to, but the town objected.
It's a liability.
That's
But,
Yeah,
So we're not adding more
Well, all
things.
right.
right now, we're just
Yeah.
reviewing
Right.
what happened at the
Sure.
public meeting.
Sure,
Yeah.
but that's something to think about that.
You can send an email in and we can add all that stuff to it. That'd be great.
Well, it could be in the minutes too.
Sure, absolutely.
I just typed that. So you're saying
They
snow
won't do
plowing,
that.
snow plowing of parking areas? Is that what the comment was?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I guess for the interest of time and getting to make sure we review the second public forum, we should probably move along. These are the other recommendations and suggestions for maintenance needs and opportunities. There is some interest in accessing Beaver Brook. I think when this says potential river access, that was also referring to Beaver Brook. Both of these, I think.
I'm not sure, do you know what the potential access point at Colonial Drive? Because that is protected, unless I mean actually putting a road.
That was, accessibility access.
Trying.
Yeah,
I got a grant in for Cloverdale.
we thought about that one though.
That was on there, it was like twice as long.
Yeah,
The grant only
covered
covered
too
a certain
much.
part, so
Yeah.
it's on the list.
I think those are the main takeaways from the first public meeting.
Okay.
Perfect.
My other comment on that, I think is that Probably half of those comments came from people in this room, so.
Fair enough.
The only piece of feedback that I do have to mention is, we did get feedback from the town clerk that the breakout sessions were not recorded. And that was a bit of an issue. So if we do something in the Zoom world next time that has the breakouts, we do have to record it.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. That was not intentional.
And I know,
Yeah.
and I told them that it's, but that was just she wants to make sure that we're compliant with everything with open meeting law. So, I mean, they were sort of okay with it, knowing that we had the presentation at the beginning, and then we came back together as a group and talked about all of the things that were discussed together. But it would have been better if we, you had the actual recorded time frame.
Yeah, all right.
Was it a formal meeting of your committee?
It was posted as a formal.
Yeah.
Meeting.
Okay. Yeah, usually when we're doing workshops, it's not a posted meeting. So
Okay.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Oh, it was posted to somebody 2 minutes.
So I did take notes. I don't remember if we had a quorum, but I can double check on that. I just had it posted just in case we could have a quorum present.
Yeah, think about that. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So the second public hearing,
Yeah,
is that where we're at?
Oh, yes, so
Yeah.
the second public hearing on June 21st. So as of right now, where do we stand in preparing for that? Is that
we have we have some ideas we'd love to share and get some input on. So here's the proposed agenda. Again, this workshop is aimed at getting community input for overall vision for the plan and priorities. We're going to have a lot of time for breakout groups to do that, and it'll be in person. We'll have a brief 20-minute presentation that reviews some of the findings we just went through from the first workshop, and kind of exposes some of the issues that people have already identified, and then talk briefly about where the vision comes from, the importance of input for informing the vision through values, community input on their values, and then we're planning it for 4 breakout groups, but we have a 5th that is to allow flexibility in case there's a high turnout. But if there's 50 people or less, then we'll plan on just doing 4 breakout groups. And there'll be a values activity, and then 3 mapping exercises that look at maps and are aimed at identifying, similar to the first meeting, identifying key areas and opportunities, but also then honing in on priorities for actions and policies that can address those needs and opportunities. And then we're gonna report back and close. So these are 3 objectives we're aiming for: to identify and compare community values and a vision for open space and recreation in Littleton, to identify key opportunities for improving recreation and protecting Littleton's resources and sense of place, and to prioritize town policies and actions for achieving open space and recreation goals. And sorry, let's see. So we'll briefly just give people a sense of the timeline, where we're at in the process. You go into presentation mode here. We'll go through some existing conditions just to give people who weren't at that meeting an overview. But we'll try to get to the visioning and kind of go through what that's about. So we're looking at the 2016 vision, which I think the committees we've already looked at together. We're going to think about what are the values informing this this statement from the last open space plan. So there's links between existing open space. This statement doesn't actually say what values those links are for. So that could be something we want to be a little more specific. Why are links important? Is it for connectivity and mobility? Is it for accessibility for people of all abilities? Similarly, it talks about extending connections to neighboring communities and what are the values informing that? It's not totally clear from this statement why that's important to the town. Is it for regional connectivity? Is it also for mobility? Is it for ecological integrity? It does talk about naming rural character, and I think that would be considered clearly a value in this vision. And part of that is agriculture. But again, the value informing that is agriculture important only for rural character, or is it also important for local food access? And then it talks about accommodating all ages and interests through a variety of recreational facilities, and that implies the value of equity and access for diverse ages and interests. So by going through the last open space and recreation plan's vision statement, we're pulling out some of the values. We're hoping to kind of frame the activity of why values are important and then give people an opportunity to name what values are most important to them in our breakout groups. We won't be crafting a vision statement during this workshop. That's too much for a big group to do. We'll take the values that people present and we'll come back together as a committee and to kind of hash out what vision statement might best fit those values. So that'll be one breakout activity, and then we'll be looking at maps for the others, and those are going to be honing in on breaking up open space and recreation into 3 different broad groups to try to think about sort of these different groups in systems, as systems that are overlapping, but also they're separate. Peter's going to talk a little bit more about that now. And then the 5th station is, if we do have a lot of people, our thought is to have a flexible station there that would be easy for an extra facilitator to do and be non-essential. And so that station would be to give people who haven't done the survey yet the chance to do the survey, and people who have done the survey could do the Google Earth activity if we can set up a computer in the space. We could have paper surveys available or computers available for doing the survey online, or to do adding more pins to Google Earth. So I think that would be a valuable 5th flexible station, but we're open to other ideas for what we could do if there are a lot of people and we need a 5th station. Actually, before I give the presentation to Peter, these are some examples of goals and values. These are what were on the survey. And for that activity, what we're thinking is not to necessarily feed these values as a menu to people yet, but to leave it open-ended. And then each group, there'll be 4 groups coming through that station. There'll be a chance for those groups to name the values that feel important to them and have a discussion. And then at the end, we'll try to group the values that came up in each group into broad categories, such as social values, ecological values, resource management values,
Economic values.
economic values.
Yeah, I mean, we've done this a lot, and what happens is towns often create a vision statement that's pretty bland, because you want everybody to agree to it. I think one way to make it less bland is to clarify why you're doing things. So if you have a priority to do one thing or another, the idea is to really get people to talk about why they want to do that and where they want to go as a town based on that. So that's the idea. Do you think this is worth the time at the workshop? generally, or wait and see?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Was a question.
That was a question.
Yes.
It's a hard question though, because they all sound like good things. I don't, you couldn't argue with any of these things as being valuable. I don't know how you would get to consensus.
Well, I think as Jack said, we wouldn't like just present this list and have people throw darts. It's really sort of starting without the list and talking about different categories. It's like, do you care about open space, you know, and why, you know? And so, well, that's the whole evening is about that. What we're really looking at, if you care, as Jack said, if you care about agriculture, why is that? Because you like good local food, you like the fact that you like farmers, you want to keep them around. So it's really trying to get at the sort of underlying purpose of things. And then later on, you can look at, you know, there are certain values that underlie different choices. Like if we care about providing equitable access to open space, there's a whole series of priorities that come out of that, you know, from creating accessible parking spaces and accessible trails to locating parks and playgrounds in every neighborhood, that kind of thing. But it's extremely helpful for us in writing a plan to not just have a list of things to do, but to have a list of why the town wants to do that. All right, moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually, I think, let's see, let's go to your slides, Peter.
Right, so
Yeah.
this is an example from another town, but it's a process that we've used a lot to help sort of clarify priorities in terms of conservation and recreational connectivity. And I sort of want to run by this series of maps with you to ask if we should do something like this at the workshop, as kind of presenting a draft. So this is Exeter, Rhode Island, which is sort of South County, Rhode Island, you may know it, but Route 95 sort of goes through it. Most of the western part is protected state land, and then there's sort of scattered protected land along the Queens River in the east. Go to the next slide. This is, you know, similar kind of map of ecological resources, really organized by, you know, where you have wildlife habitat and different, you know, natural heritage communities and so on. But what we always find is if you present this map, which is basically the kind of map that's required for the open space plan, it tells you a lot of data, but it doesn't really tell you what's important. So one of the things we do is sort of a quick overlay, which I think is shown in the next one, to show, yeah, here's the key sort of river systems that tie things together. And another overlay that is an attempt to ask the question, what is the sort of core ecological resource that really needs to be protected in order for this ecosystem to survive? And that's what's described in the darker green. And then if you overlay what's protected already, which is in the gray here, you can see that there are certain gaps in ecosystem protection that might be significant. So you have like two big patches connected by an unprotected river corridor. Or one of the things we realized in Exeter is it's really important. It's actually called the Beaver River, right through the center of the town. That's not protected at all. So it helps to illuminate some of those sort of parts of, you know, thinking about how does this function as a system, and what are we going to lose if part of that is fragmented by development or whatever. And similarly, the next one shows water supply. Again, this is sort of just the raw data, and thinking about, well, what's the core that really needs to be protected is the next one. We think about the rivers and streams, in that case, and the aquifers. And then if you overlay protection, you see in the western part, big chunk is almost completely protected. And then the eastern part, again, we have some sort of key gaps. So the area around the town wells is in pretty good shape, but a lot of the area feeding into it is not. And then one of the interesting things we try to do is use a similar kind of a systemic analysis for historic and cultural landscapes. So this includes like scenic areas, all the historic sites and historic districts. It includes places that people identified as special, which are marked as little hearts on here. Anything on the National Register of Historic places, basically anything that we can think about, including heritage landscapes, which in your case, you have an existing inventory of heritage landscapes we pulled out for the last meeting, and farmland. We also mapped as part of that all of the historic farmland that really represents the sort of core character of the town. And again, the raw data is just kind of this wash of information. So we try to summarize it again with an overlay that says, here are the key corridors that sort of really embody the sense of Exeter as a place. And then the areas along those corridors that are linked to them that really are most important. And again, it's similar to the ecosystem diagram in that you're saying that if you cut these corridors, you take something away from the experience of moving through that place. And if you lose too much of these areas that embody lots of different kinds of sort of heritage landscape resources, you really start to lose the sense of the town as a rural place. And then the third category, and then, again, you can overlay the protected land and you see that, well, we've done a pretty good job of protecting some areas, particularly the areas that are important ecologically. But with most towns, you find out that the things that people really say they care about in terms of rural character are not protected very well at all. So it sort of highlights that. And then the next slide is doing the same series for recreational resources, mostly focused on trails in this case, and thinking about what's protected, but then also thinking, how do we make better connections? So in this case, we're working on plans for this is a town-wide bicycle corridor. The next slide, I think, is a town-wide sort of hiking and walking connections. And so we can pull, if we do this for Littleton, we can pull from your ped bike plan and sort of use that as a basis for this discussion. And again, you start to see if there's some clear gaps in the system. And you start to think, well, what are we going to lose if we lose the ability to link some of these areas in the future? And then the fun thing about this is the next series of slides, you can overlay these different systems and start to see where you have areas that are really important for multiple purposes, and overlay that with protected land and start to see certain areas that might be a focus of a sort of strategic open space plan, either to connect and fill in the gaps or to look at an area that may have not been protected because it doesn't have the highest, water resource value or whatever it might be, but it has lots of other things going on. And what we find is that the places where you have this density of different kinds of resources are the places that people really love, because they're not just a nice patch of woods, but they really embody the experience of being in a place like Littleton, where you're sort of walking down the road, there's a beautiful marsh, and a farm, you can go get an ice cream cone and pick a pumpkin and walk on a trail and see your neighbors, and all of these things are part of the experience of that place. So this approach is really about thinking about the landscape holistically in that way. So that's a lot of information, but I guess sort of wanted to test that with you and see if you think that might be an approach which would sort of help people get excited about open space planning and might be useful in the plan itself.
I think it's brilliant, but that's me. I don't know.
So I guess I'm not clear on, I mean, as part of the plan, absolutely. Is this part of the workshop or?
Well, we were planning to bring the basic resource maps to the workshop and have stations where people could focus on, here's the trail system and the bike ped plan and what do we connect. I guess the question is, do we do some of these overlays and make some of these suggestions to say and get people to react to those?
I mean, I think that's a really great idea, because there's so many maps that are in this report. And to be able to actually see tangibly how they all connect, and that people can relate them to specific areas in town, I think that's a really great way to create that sense of place and for them to really understand the importance of those specific areas, and for us to be able to see if we are missing a hole in this, like, where is that? And what can we do to fix that?
Other thoughts?
And MassGIS has all those content layers and UMass Amherst and all those inventories, so
Yeah,
the information's there.
Yeah, we'll basically use the maps that we've already made. And sort of add this
you guys have to
additional
already have them, right,
analysis.
for water?
Water resource, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Zone 1, zone 2, all that.
yeah. Anybody?
Yeah, that seems like an interesting way to engage people, so,
Yeah. Same reason.
right.
Had to run to the historical commission meeting to bring them a few things.
So he was just trying to get feedback on that concept of doing the overlays at the meeting. So any help on that?
It looks great. I think the public would get a lot out of that.
Yeah, and we also might pair that with, so these are some actions and policies partly stemming from the 2016 plan. And, you know, potentially feed some of these ideas to kind of as part of that activity. I mean, each of these stations is only gonna have 20 minutes, so that goes by very quickly, and we're not sure how, if we can really drill down into the specific policy level, other than kind of identifying areas and general and goals, but it, you know, we might have some of these different actions and policies on hand to get a little more specific about, okay, if this is what you want, here are some potential things the town could do. Do you agree with this? Would you be in support of this, or do you have other ideas? And so each of these are the 3 different stations. One station on recreation and trails and connectivity, and I think that would also include accessibility. One on natural resources, including ecological resources and water supply, and one on cultural resources, including the scenic roads, any landscapes and historic areas, and then agricultural resources as well. And then, yeah, people rotate through 4 stations in 80 minutes. It'll be back to back. It'll be a whirlwind and hopefully engaging, so that people maintain their energy. And then we'll come back at the end, and we'll just have a brief report out, and then let people know how the final steps of the process will go.
Let's see it, right?
It's gonna be on the 21st of June. And it's gonna be in person. So all these stations are gonna be physical locations that we have to set up, right?
It's gonna be in Sturts.
Good. Is there any way to do a hybrid? So we capture some other people that may not be able to make it, have a group that meets online? Is that possible?
Which just makes it a lot harder,
Yeah.
because then somebody's got to be the person that's like maintaining, you know, the website or the Zoom that's
Yeah.
going on.
It is possible, but it's probably easier to do that as a separate evening.
Mhm.
I'm just concerned about how many people we're gonna get to come to this physically.
Well, that's the next question is how have you been publicizing it yet? This is in 2 weeks, right?
Because we didn't get that many people on the online one.
Right.
We only had 2 groups, and now we're asking people to come in here. I just don't want to see it be
I know.
go flat on this or
So,
discuss again.
yeah, I saw that that was like the next thing that was on the list, Peter. So some of the things that we can do a little bit differently. We do have, townwide special events that are happening. So that's something we can get the word out that way. Aaron had suggested for the survey, but I could also do it for the, meeting as well, to have the school system send that out in an email. And I have it on here as a big question mark, because I don't know if we could use it or not, but the town has a, like a code red system where they can send information out to any person that's logged in, or has signed up for it. So usually it's like, trying to think of a good example. Shaker Lane is closed today because there was a water main breakage, you know,
School closing.
right. So usually it's used for those kind of things, but, I think at least it warrants an ask if we could do that.
I mean, also there is the whatever system of people sign up for meeting agendas or meeting the
alerts.
the town business alerts.
Yeah,
That could figure out how to get it to all of those, or at least some of those.
contact Nancy, yeah. Do you guys have any suggestions on things that have worked successfully for you in the past?
Well, what I always say is that people will show up if they feel there's a particular reward that they won't get another way, or if there's a particular threat that they have to defend themselves against. Now, the trouble with open space plans is, you know, it's kind of like,
Yeah, the same thing.
There was a lot of people for that.
It's not much.
Yeah,
so I think trying to, and then I think the best approach, of course, is, you know, reaching out to people personally. So all of you represent different constituencies. And so sending stuff out to those lists and really giving people a reason to show up. I think we could provide, if we haven't, some language for, you know, why you should actually come to this meeting. I mean, honestly, I think, you know, you did the master plan a few years ago. This is probably the last opportunity you're going to have to talk about open space as a community for a while.
2030,
Yeah.
a long time.
And between now and then, most of the decisions will be made, right?
Sorry, Peter, what was that?
But between now and 2030, most of the decisions will have been made.
Yeah.
So this is, you know, the last opportunity people will have to really think about seizing those opportunities, filling those gaps, making these systems work. So if you care about connectivity, if you care about having a park in your neighborhood, all these things, this is the time. And I think also, whether you come to this meeting or not, for people, I think the message is this is happening. And this plan will shape decisions going forward. So this is, you know, you need to be here. You need to be part of it.
I'm gonna see if I can get somebody to donate food,
That's always good.
That was always good.
something.
The best meeting we had, the best attended meeting that we had for the master plan, they provided a full spread. It was wonderful food for everybody. They filled up the whole cafeteria.
I like sushi.
Well, those are.
We'll have it sitting out all day for you.
Good. I'll get you a fish from Long Lake.
Yeah.
Great, yeah, so I'll see what I can do about that.
All right, so it sounds like we've got a pretty good agenda in place and good presentation, and we'll work on outreach to get more people there, maybe some treats, and we'll go from there.
And it seemed like you did do great outreach for the first meeting with social media and all that. So we'll just hope for the best.
Yeah,
People may also be burned out on virtual meetings.
Yeah,
Right, and that is a reality too. It's true.
so this is not a virtual meeting.
Right, exactly. That's the potential positive. Are you guys, because you have 4 to 5 stations, are you gonna be the facilitators for each of those, or what's the?
Yeah, well,
What are we thinking, Jack?
I think will we have 3 who come with us or 4?
3 or 4? But yeah, we could probably use some help for anybody who's interested.
I can't be there.
Conveniently.
Conveniently.
I'm teasing you.
Schedule all these things when
I
I
know.
said I can't. I have something much better.
Yeah, Jerry and Solomon were great to have. It was great to have you on deck for the last meeting, and thank you so much. And we'd love to have that again if there are volunteers who'd be willing to be a facilitator.
Yeah, I think particularly that overflow station, we could probably figure out somebody to do.
Yeah, well, Kaz has been interested in that as well, because he's wanting to like learn more, so that's a possibility. He's a very jovial guy.
He could probably help you.
I know, yeah, I've told him he needs to be getting
Out here
people
with
in.
the whiteboard.
I know.
Food.
Yeah, they're spinning the arrow.
One of our staff members is like the unofficial mayor of Littleton, but
There you go.
he's a busy guy.
So we could finalize that with you, Alicia.
Yeah. Okay.
If people want to think about committing to that, it'd be great to have a couple of people maybe from the committee and Kaz.
Maybe, we'll see. I can volunteer him, I guess.
All right.
All right.
Let's see here. So we'll just quickly touch on planning logistics for the ADA self-evaluation for the town, and I did add that to the agenda because I think
Yeah.
We may have to come back to that.
Yeah,
Because that's something, like I said, we haven't been able to find the actual well, I literally have the physical version in front of me, but there's not a digital one. So I can make a copy of that and get that to Jack, and maybe that's something we can cover next time we meet.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna make many inroads on that before July with the meeting coming up.
Excellent.
But you're gonna use the virtual resources on Google to get started on that probably before we come in person and see
Okay.
how much we can do that way.
Perfect. And lastly, the review of the timeline moving forward. So we've got our next forum on the 21st, and we'll have the survey out and about in papery and virtual form by Friday, and we'll look forward to the responses. But other than that, I think we're good. We're in good shape.
Motion to adjourn.
Oi,
Second.
we have to decide when we're having the next meeting, my friend. Nice try.
We're coming up on 2 hours.
I did, the one thing I did want to mention that Jack had talked about before is to have this discussion of, we're probably going to have to include this in part of this process. And so there's been a bill introduced to the Massachusetts Senate docket. And the bill is to request a ban of all synthetic turfs in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So, what that means in the long term, if this comes through, that alumni field would only be able to use for its usable life is the term that they use. And then it would need to be replaced with a grass field.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Why? Why is this happening?
So the reason, and I don't have the actual research in front of me, so I'll just give you a basic understanding. So there was a research project that was conducted, and the results of that research project correlate synthetic turf with specific types of cancer in children. And also with leaching of chemicals into the ground where they have been constructed. So I have talked to Nick about this, and he said there's no such information over where alumni is. But that is, it's on the docket.
I thought that's why we went to turf field, so we didn't have to put weed killer on
Yeah,
the
exactly.
grass.
Water conservation, no chemicals.
And no chemicals, so we're-
I don't know what to tell you guys. That's just so if that's a reality, if this is something that's going to move forward, then we definitely need to address that because we already have issues with the fields right now.
I think
So
there'll be state grants for all these communities. that
that's a
need to
really
spend.
great question to ask them on the floor, is it not?
Yeah.
So, yeah, if
Where's the money
they,
come from? Place. Yeah.
right, so if they do have some sort of, the next time they bring it up onto the actual floor, we could go for testimony and ask things like that of them.
Well, if it goes for the usable life, you'd have to be replacing it anyway.
Well, the question then is, if you know, right, if it's been banned because of these things and you know that to be true, wouldn't you just want to get rid of it? Why would you continue to use it? So, but like I said, it's one research project that's been done. I don't know how much validity that they will give it, but that's the reality of
hopefully our elected
where we're at.
officials will be reasonable on this. Look at additional studies instead of just on one launch.
Agreed, yeah.
Undo and done.
I agree with you on that. So I just wanted to bring that up because that's a relatively new thing, so. Yeah. When do we meet next on that wonderful note?
Oh, yeah, we're not planning on introducing that topic at this workshop.
No,
No, no.
please no, that will, nothing will get accomplished.
I bring people in.
Maybe.
Let's see, so our next meeting, we have been doing the last Monday of the month.
Was it Monday or Tuesday?
Oh, maybe it was Tuesdays.
I think it was Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, no, it was.
This is a Wednesday, but
Well, we had yeah,
okay.
so we could do June 27th.
June, sorry.
I think we have another meeting that night, actually.
You guys do, okay.
Yeah,
Let's see, is there any reason, well, I was gonna say kick it to July, but that might be. Or,
I think we want to keep things moving.
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, if we're having the meeting, the forum on the 21st. How much time do you guys need to compile that to be able to report out?
Let's see, for just the committee report out, I think we could do that the following week, but just not on that Tuesday. And that's less comprehensive than what might go in the final report.
yeah, the following week is 4th of July.
Mm,
oh, yeah,
So-
that's-
No, the following week's the 26th to the 30th, right?
well, I suggested the 27th, so the week.
Oh, I
following.
see.
Yeah.
I see.
Oh,
Sorry,
well,
right.
do we need to be on a Tuesday or? Do we just do some?
It seems like we were able to get the most amount of people on the last day of a Tuesday, but if we can't do that date, then we just have to figure it out.
maybe that Wednesday?
I can do a doodle poll again too, if you want me to do that. That seems to
Yeah,
work well.
let's do a doodle.
Yeah,
Sure.
Doodle it.
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
That's we can do it earlier.
Essentially.
Okay, does that work for you guys?
Yeah, as far as I can see on our calendar, it's only that Tuesday of that week that we've got something. So but what
Okay.
doodle sounds like a good way. Is that what we're gonna do?
Yeah, so I'll check in with you tomorrow and we can figure out dates that work for you and Peter. And then I'll create the doodle off of that.
Great, okay.
All right. If there's nothing more,
Motion to adjourn.
second, all right, all those in favor? Aye.